All right, welcome, everybody. I am calling this Board of Education meeting to order. It is Monday, April 13th. It is 6:01 PM, and we are in the Nashua North Boardroom. Ms. Raymond, will you do the prayer, roll call, prayer, and then Mr. Johnson, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, welcome, everybody. I will do attendance first. Ms. Gilio?
Here. It's out here.
Ms. Prin?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
I'm here. Ms. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Salvi?
Here.
Ms. Lampier is not here. Ms. Lopez?
Here.
And Ms. Bishop is here.
Here.
Great.
I made it in time.
All right. Ms. Prateru?
Here.
Ms. Sad?
Here.
Dr. Andrade is here. Mr. Posca, Dr. Scarpati. Do we have Mr. Gray? No, and we don't have Mr. Baus. I'm sorry, my pen has just died. Don't worry, I have extra pens. It's kind of who I am. All right, opening statement. The Board of Education opening statement. As elected officials, we have the high honor and the serious duty of managing the educational institutions of our beloved city. In our common endeavors, may we find a spirit of unity and understanding which will enable us to face our multiple problems with an objective mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens. Oh, welcome, Ms. Lampier. The poor thing, she's trying to like slip in nicely.
Sorry I'm late. Not around here, man.
All right. I just need to.
All right, we're going to kick off our meeting by meeting our almost new assistant superintendent. So Jim O'Rourke, can you come down here and we can get to know you a little bit? You can sit right next to Dr. Scarpati. Or Mr. Posca, whoever you want. It's a real Sophie's choice around here right now.
As long as there's a microphone for him.
Yes. Well, welcome. I will hand the floor over to Dr. Andrade, who can tell us a little bit more about what's been going on with this process.
Yeah, so I want to introduce Jim O'Rourke, our recommendation for our assistant superintendent for our secondary schools. We've been interviewing candidates for quite a while at this point. So we had a great interview. We want to thank everybody who was involved. And we really impressed with Jim's interview, his leadership, his professionalism, and his knowledge and capacity. We've had several outstanding conversations, so it is my pleasure to make this recommendation tonight. I know the board typically has some questions, but I'll let Jim introduce himself and then answer any of your questions, and I can talk a little further about his candidacy as well. So Jim, if you want to introduce yourself.
Jim O'Rourke. Currently, I'm the principal at Hillsborough Daring High School in Hillsborough. I live in Concord. This is my 32nd year in education, and I've spent 16 of them as the principal at Hillsborough Daring High School. So I'm incredibly excited to be here. My son lives 8 minutes from here. My oldest son lives 8 minutes from here. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity, and I'm scared to death, so have at it.
I will open the floor up to some questions. I'm going to guess the first person's hand up is Miss Raymond. Oh.
Well, I thought I would be polite and let other people have a chance. Everyone knows the
She's just
question
always so excited.
that I ask
Yes.
everyone the same question. So perhaps someone else has a different question. All right, I'll just go.
Just go.
Okay.
Kick us off.
Welcome. I was really excited to see all of your experience and educational background. And I always ask everyone the same question. And that is to tell us a little bit about your philosophy on discipline, bearing in mind that secondary is both middle and high school.
Sure. I think we have to treat discipline individually with students, knowing their background, knowing what's appropriate for them. In some cases, unless it's a violent incident, in some cases, an out-of-school suspension is not appropriate because you know the background of the student and knowing that if they're not in school, they're probably not going to eat for 1 day, 2 days, or whatever. So really working with the student and trying to come up with the best consequence for whatever the action was. Obviously, violent incidents we got to deal with in a certain way, but not all students need to be suspended. Sometimes even, all students make poor choices, but how we deal with students individually and what that consequence looks like for each individual student is important.
Thank you. Can I follow up on it? And I don't know if Hillsborough-Daring has the same filing system for policies as we do, but we have a policy called JIC, which is our Student Behavior Code. Some of the things in it are unique to Nashua and different from other districts, and some are what the state requires us to do. And so my follow-up is, how do you marry that individualized behavior plan for each student with JIC and also with the involvement of that student's parent or guardian?
Right. So I think in policies across every school district, there's always, you make them fit your district and what you do. I don't think it's as much as really marrying the issues with a policy, but it's really making sure when we're looking at our policies, it allows us to make those judgments and be flexible in working with students and families. I think there's certain laws we have to follow. You can't violate them. You've got to make sure, you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. But I think policies being flexible for administrators to be able to work with students that they know individually, work with families that they know individually, and really try to find the best pathway for the student.
If I can just add, we had a conversation during the interview process on his experience with policy. So Hillsborough-Daring, being a little smaller than us, their administrators wear a lot of hats. And so Jim has been writing their district policy for a number of years now. So he's very familiar with the 306s, the NHSBA, following Concord. So he knows he's coming in and being on the policy subcommittee, but he has experience, even as a high school principal, writing district policy.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
I saw you had your hand up, Mr. Salvi.
Yep. Thank you. My question is related to, currently we are facing a lot of problems in the high school, in the school budget because of the voucher programs and all. Lots of our students in the general categories are going to the charter schools or private schools. So my question to you is how we can make our school more attractive for those general students who can come to our school, and we can have a graph which is going down every year of general students, how we can make it a little bit better every year. Do you have any kind of...
Sure. I think making sure the experience in our schools is engaging for those students, making sure there's opportunities that they want to engage in across the board. I think it'll be important for me to build relationships with the leadership teams and the teachers and the students within the building to see how I can support those different opportunities for students. What can I bring that I've done in the past? Are there opportunities out there that we haven't explored yet? But also talking to those students that are leaving and finding out why they're leaving. What's the exact reason they're leaving? And, getting to the root cause of that, I think, is important.
Thank you.
Ms. Lewis, did you have some questions?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Being someone who has gone through somewhat of a similar process, I know it is a little bit nerve-wracking, so thank you for being here. Can you share an example of how you turned equity into a real measurable change for students in the past?
What part of equity? In general, or so
Well, I
think-
guess so I guess what does equity mean to you?
So I think every student being able to have the same opportunity across the board is equity. Whether you're a student that struggles, whether it's reading, math, or science, or if it's a student who excels and you want to find ways to enhance their learning, it's making sure that all students can reach their potential. And I think we have to make sure we have pathways and opportunities for every student to learn, and grow. And it might take them a little bit longer to get to where some other students are, but we need to make sure they have those opportunities available to them. And that's the biggest equity piece for me, is making sure that students aren't just, well, you're here and that's good enough and we'll move you on. That's not acceptable.
Thank you for that. And just to follow up on that, can you share an example of something in the past just to share with us? So I'm just going to repeat the question, okay? So can you share an example of how you turned equity into real, measurable change for students?
Sure. So currently right now, well, not right now, but over the past 3 years, really developing an intervention program for all students across the board has allowed our students to improve grade level wise. So many students come up from our 8th grade reading on a 4th grade level, a 5th grade level. A lot of them come up reading on grade level, and we also have students that we need to find ways to meet their needs because they're already reading at the college level, right? So creating intervention blocks for students, we have a program called IXL, and all students go through this program. It's for math and ELA, and we look at the scores, and then we create intervention blocks for our lowest 10% to get them where they need to be prior to any of the standardized testing that has to happen. But we also, for our students that are right there knocking on the door, like for SATs, we have students that are approaching, and they may be in that approaching category because they've missed 1 or 2 questions and they're not quite there yet. Well, we've provided interventions for those students as well, looking at their data and where they're at. So we're moving everybody and providing that opportunity and that equity for everybody across the board.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Johnson?
Why Nashua?
Why not?
Well, I've got some experience in Nashua. I was the assistant principal at Spalding High School for 5 years, and when I was the assistant principal, I was part of the gang task force in New Hampshire. It was back 2003 to 2009. It was a pretty crazy time. I worked closely with David Ryan. I came to a lot of meetings in this auditorium with the state police and the detectives and the task force across the board. I have an acquaintance that works here at Nashua North. My son bought a house here 5 years ago, and we spend quite a bit of time down here. I'm a big school guy. I come from a school of 5,200 kids. My graduating class was 1,726. Spalding was big. I had an opportunity to get my principalship in Hillsborough, thinking it was going to be, like the regular 5-7 years, and people move on, they do the next thing, and 16 years later, I'm still there. But when I saw this opportunity, I wanted to jump on it quickly. I'm a big school guy. I love the big school environment, and having some relationships in Nashua really attracted me to come here.
Thanks.
Yep.
I have a question that kind of comes off of that. I used to do juvenile probation, but I was in Spalding High School for a little bit, I think right around the time that you were, well, a little bit before that. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, some of the stuff that was in the packet was in regards to some of the committees that you're on, and being very kind of trauma-informed, child-centered. How do you take that knowledge and that approach, and obviously your work with the community that you've already done, and bring that into your leadership role?
I think it'll come with time, getting to meet the principals. I'll be working with their leadership teams, find out what's happening already within those schools and what's happening within the community, and then using my resources to see if things that I've done in the small town of Hillsborough, Daring will fit in Nashua, but also my connection across the state and across the country, and at Yale University, where I did my fellowship on MTSSB and MTSS. My network is pretty wide, and if I have to reach out to some of my colleagues that we're always in big cities and much larger cities than anywhere in New Hampshire. I have that resource in my back pocket to say, hey, here's where I am. Some of the things that I did in Hillsborough are a little bit too small on the scale of what we're looking for, and having somebody kind of reach out and help me out a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys did a good job. I remember the gang explosion was really happening and it got tamped down real quickly. That was pretty fascinating to watch as a state.
Yep.
Ms. Lopez had her hand up.
So yes, thank you for coming. My question is, so Nashua is a very diverse district, right? How do you see yourself interacting with 8th through 12th graders here?
So Hillsborough, not very diverse, but Rochester was very diverse. And I had an opportunity to, I actually ran a class for my teachers called, and this was 20-something years ago, but respecting diversity, and I can't come up with the rest of it, but I really worked with the teachers to understand it's not about our community with the, because without diversity, you think kids aren't ever going to experience. But in Hillsborough Daring, I talk about diversity all the time. Students are going to graduate and they're going to go somewhere. I had a student go to Temple, and she did not fit in, and she was very happy that I worked with her on some of those things that embrace diversity, respect diversity. Worked her a little bit, and she got to understand, like, boy, yeah, I come from Little Hillsborough, but Temple is a very different place for a student who's grown up in a town of 700 other kids. And I live in Concord. Both my boys went through Concord. A lot of their friends I interact with all the time. Some of them don't speak English, and I have to find a way to break that barrier when we're at games and trying to talk to them. So it's something I'm used to. I think I need to get better at it at times to try to understand what I can do and how I can impact diversity within a district. So I think it's going to be a learning experience for me as well.
Yes. Thank you for your answer. Follow up, Temple Owls,
Yeah.
Philadelphia. Spent 4 years there, so. My other question is, so 8th to 12th grade, how do you feel about the IEP process and the 504 process? Because we tend to see that in that age range, they let go of a lot of their 504s, their IEPs and go to 504s. And 504s are just a suggestion. IEPs are the ones that say these have to be done. So how do you feel about that for 8th to 12th graders?
Right. I think it's important to support students across the board, especially students that are on IEPs or 504s. I think we have to really review them frequently, and if students are making gains due to their 504 or their IEP, then we continue to look at what else can we do to help them make more gain, quicker gain. If they're not making gains, we need to reassess and look at why are they not making gains? Have we missed something here? And in some cases, students progress enough where they can come off of their IEP because it's written for a specific purpose, right? Same thing with a 504. 504s are not forever. 504s are supposed to be meant for, a very short period of time to help a student get through whatever it is they're going through and then reevaluate and move on. So the same way with 504s, if a student needs it for a long period of time, what are the goals? Are they meeting those goals? If they're not meeting those goals, why are they not meeting those goals? Is there something we're doing that is not allowing them to meet those goals? But if they are moving along, we need to start saying, okay, we need to start backing off of the 504 now and see if there's things that you can do without this support. But in all those areas, if we're accommodating students in our classrooms and we're doing what every student should just be getting, then that should just be an extra bonus on top of the accommodations that they're getting to help get them off the IEP, to get them out of the 504, or to just progress to meet their goals.
I see the students have some questions, so I'll start off with Ms. I stutter over here, I'm so sorry, Praturu.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. So one of our questions is, how do you still plan on being interactive with the students even though your position is kind of less directly connected to them?
That's a huge concern of mine, for sure. Being with students every single day is definitely something that, you know, I get to work very early. I get my paperwork done in the morning, and then I'm in the hallways, I'm in the classroom, I'm in the lunchroom, I'm everywhere with students, and then when the day's over, I go back to do my paperwork before I go home. It's gonna have to be a balancing act. When I'm in the schools, I'm hoping to meet a lot of kids and build relationships with kids so that when I'm in each building, I'm making it a priority to get there around lunchtime so I can go into the cafeteria and talk to students and see what I can do from the assistant superintendent position to help them, or even just to meet and talk. I'll be at sporting events, hopefully. I'll be at some of them indirectly because my son's a junior at Concord High and we play all the Nashua teams. So, that's my goal. I know it's going to be a different look for me, so I need to find a way to make sure I adjust and I'm continuing to meet students and having those conversations.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Sad?
Following up on that, how often do you plan to be in the schools?
She's planning her day.
I think there's quite a few of them, but almost every day, try to get there every day. Obviously, there's things that the assistant superintendent's responsible for that keeps us in meetings for a day or whatever, but when I don't need to be in a meeting, I will be in the buildings.
Okay, and then a separate question is, how do you plan to make Nashua a district of interest if we were to switch to an open enrollment district?
That's a good question.
These are our heavy hitters.
Where was
over
that
here.
question a few weeks ago? I would have already answered it. Yeah, that's going to take some work, getting to know the students, what your interests are. How can I bring things in that are engaging for students? We as assistant superintendents and principals can talk all the time about that, but if we're not talking with the students and talking with the student leadership, not knowing what we need to do, kind of is a roadblock for us. So really talking with the students, like at the interview when I talked to you about student leadership, that's a huge thing of mine. Students are part of the decision-making process in my high school. No decisions are made without student input. And I think that's going to be the big one. What engages our students in Nashua the most? And we need to make sure we're focused on those things to make sure that students stay. And if students are leaving to go to other places from other districts, why would we not want them to come here? And let's make sure that we have those things in place for them.
Ms. Lamfair, and then Ms. Lewis.
Hi, I'm Regan. Welcome
Thank
to
you.
the Nashua School Board. I'm just wondering, are there any initiatives in Nashua that you're particularly excited about being a part of?
You know, I think when I was reviewing the strategic plan and all those things, the constant themes popped up. The community engagement, the student engagement, the collaborative nature of the schools, the teachers, the staff, and really looking at how do we promote the Nashua School District, especially in the time of open enrollment. How do we do that? How do we support public education and make sure that our community understands what public education is and try to keep more people here than leaving to other schools. But really being part of that community process is something I'm really excited about.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am speaking as a board member and also as a parent, as I have a child that's in the school district. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on how you build trust, right? We have students here, we have families, and across our communities. And I know that you're coming from a school district that isn't as diverse,
Yep.
right? And being someone who is diverse and who grew up here in Nashua, and I moved from Nashua to Hudson, which was a school district that wasn't as diverse. So being someone who comes from a background and moving to a district that wasn't as diverse, trust was a huge piece for me, and same thing for our students here in this district. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on how would you go about for the next 3 years?
Sure.
On how you would build trust with our students and our families.
Sure. I think first is building and maintaining those positive relationships. I think follow through. If I say I'm going to do something, then I need to do it. Don't just have face value at a sporting event. meeting a parent, talking with a parent. If they ask a question, I say, I'll get back to you. I get back to them, and really getting to know them personally. Although the school district I work in right now is not diverse, I do live in Concord, but I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island. Very, very diverse. I moved to North Kingstown, which was not as diverse for my high school years. And I watched a lot of my friends and families have a hard time interacting and frustrating in that type of environment as well, and not trusting the adults. So I lived it, and I'm also one of those people that I make sure that if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I follow through. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer, but I will get that answer for you. I'm not going to say I know it just because I'm the assistant superintendent and I should know it. If I don't know it, I don't know it, but I will follow through with the information at a later time. But I think building that trust, that follow through, and being compassionate as well. And the way my leadership philosophy is, 2 things I live by: never be told to do something you know you should have done already, and never ask anybody to do something you're not willing to do yourself. And I think that builds a lot of trust.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
Can I ask just one other question? I don't know if anyone else had another thing. Bullying is another thing too, and I just wanted to just touch base on that. Again, kids, right, come from various backgrounds, right, various experiences of life, right, different households. Do you have any suggestions on how you would combat that?
So I think bullying really, again, is one of those case-by-case things, working with the families, because in some cases, bullying is happening, and we have to address it through the investigative process. All of those things, if it's found that it's bullying, we have to address it. We need to make sure we're following our policies and we're doing what we need to do to correct that behavior so that everybody knows what they need to do going forward. The bigger piece is actually trying to figure out is there bullying happening. A lot of times it's kids saying things to each other. It's not bullying, but they're still pretty nasty to each other. And one family might be saying their kid's getting bullied all the time, when another family's saying theirs getting bullied all the time, but they're not seeing the interactions within school or know the whole story behind it, because as parents, we don't know everything. And really working with the families to help them understand, we're going to make this stop, but it may not be to the extent of bullying that it's being labeled right now, because it's probably not bullying. It's more like a mutual altercation kind of combat thing. But if there is bullying, we need to make sure that we correct that problem, and we support the person being bullied, and we make sure the person doing the bullying understands that it's not okay, and we take the steps we need to make sure that they understand they can't do this any further.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, guys. I think we hit on every single major point that we possibly could regarding
It's okay.
public education. We like to just do the re-interview process right
Absolutely.
here. We're not a board that likes to just kind of take things as they come. We like to do our own research. So I appreciate your participating with us and letting us get to know you a little bit more.
Thank you.
So I would actually like to, do we want to go into the vote? Okay, so I would actually like to make the motion to approve James O'Rourke as Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education effective July 1st, 2026, at an annual salary of $132,480.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Gilio. I'm hoping we don't have any more questions, but maybe some comments. Seeing none. All right. All those in favor of approving Mr. O'Rourke as our new Assistant Superintendent for Secondary, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Welcome to our district. Matt's like, I gotta go. Pass the baton. Yeah.
All right, congratulations. I'm glad to not be the one in that hot seat tonight. So. All right, we have a curriculum showcase for you this evening, and we have some teachers and reading specialists here to help us through it. So I'd like to invite them to join us on the horseshoe. Thank you, Mr. Pasca, for making room.
Oh, we have robotics as the second one. Do we want to do that first? Okay.
All right, so we have a brief presentation this evening about a writing program that we have been studying and learning about and starting some training on at the elementary level this year with the hopes that it may eventually roll up through 8th grade. So as we started the training, it has been called Think SRSD. They have now changed the name to Releasing Writers, which I think is actually a better title, as I'm always confusing the letters and getting it in the wrong order. So this will be more foolproof, I hope. All right, so I'm joined here this evening by Kathleen Conway, reading specialist at Birch Hill. Amanda Shade, did I say that correctly? Scheid, second grade at New Searles. Julia Anderson, grade 2 at Bicentennial, and Allison Paluzzi, reading specialist at Maine Dunstable. And they've been part of our leadership team with this work this year, so I thank them for being part of this. Was this, okay.
It's me. Okay. So we began this work in the summer of last year, taking a look at our ELA curriculum, CKLA. The state of New Hampshire passed legislation mandating that by 2027, school districts that provide elementary education up through 5th grade are required to use measurable, evidence-based instruction for all students, not only in reading, but in writing. Think SRSD is a writing framework that addresses or meets this criteria. So Think SRSD, the SRSD part stands for self-regulation and self-development. So that's an acronym that is commonly used. We are now calling it Releasing Writers. It's an approach, not a curriculum. So it gives us a framework to teach students to be strong, independent writers. Part of writing, we know, it's very cognitively demanding. It requires you to not only come up with your ideas, but be able to put them into a logical sequence, know how to spell, follow grammar. So part of that self-regulation piece teaches students to take some of the pressure off and talk themselves through in a way that feels more manageable for them. The little picture at the bottom, shows our power cycle. So beginning in the K to 2 grade levels, we go by the acronym POW. And then as students progress through the primary grades and move into upper elementary, we add on a piece, but it is a building framework. So it allows students to build a foundation and then continually add to it where it's not brand new every single year. So they feel more familiar with it and it empowers them to expand upon their thinking. So for our rollout this year, we had a teacher and a reading specialist from all schools across the Nashua School District. We had representation from grades kinder through 5th grade, which is a really amazing opportunity. We all completed a 2-day training with the developer of the Think SRSD framework. We also had an opportunity to do a visit to Northwest Elementary School in Manchester, where we were able to see how Manchester utilizes the CKLA literacy curriculum that we use and couple it with the Think SRSD writing framework. It was really powerful to see teachers using a curriculum that we know and be able to relate to what they're doing in the classrooms. All staff received an introduction to what this framework is back in February. So we, as teachers and reading specialists, completed the training and, along with Dr. Scarpetti, developed a presentation to allow staff to be aware of what was coming and not have it feel like a brand new thing that's being sprung on them. I feel like we had positive feedback. People are excited to know that something is coming, but they have time to kind of sit with that information and figure out what it will look like for them. We're currently collaborating on different exemplars or writing pieces using this framework to provide to teachers when we roll this out in the fall. So beginning in September, all staff will be trained in this writing framework.
All right, so this is kind of where Think SRSD comes together. It really has two main components. And the first of it is teaching writing, the how-to of writing. And Think SRSD does this by clear, strategic, step-by-step strategies that support students to plan, organize, get started, write, and revise. And these steps are actually what takes the guesswork out of the writing for the students. So instead of having students not sure what they're supposed to be doing, what the writing's supposed to be the writing's supposed to look like, they actually have steps that they're going to follow. And like we said, we saw on the last slide, there's going to be acronyms that's going to help the students remember the steps. So that builds that independent piece for them as well. And with independence, they're going to know where they are on their writing, what step they're on, and what maybe their next step is going to be using those acronyms. And this, in turn, is going to build independence and confidence as writers. But what I think is really powerful about Think SRSD is the second part, the self-regulation. Now, when you're teaching students, you as a teacher often build them up to the best that you can. You're often saying, we can do this, we got this, guys. You're saying a lot of things, but they're your words, right? And often that doesn't resonate fully into what a student's thinking about their ability for a number of reasons. They could be overwhelmed, they could have a history of just not really hitting the mark on an assignment that you've given them. So with the self-regulation, it actually takes place before the writing. We're working to teach the students, to train the students to shift their thinking from using thoughts that are derailing to not, train them to think that they can take a step. What can they do? Using the strategies that are given to them. So we're not going to ask them to say, you know, I'm a great writer, I can write a novel, it'll be fine, everything's good, I got this. That's not how it's going to work. But what we are going to do is take the thoughts that they have, work together with them, and we're going to revise those thoughts to make them more productive. And the goal of that is that after a while, that little inner voice is going to get stronger and be more resilient and more productive. And some of the thoughts might be like, I don't want to do this, or I can't do this, or I don't know how. And instead of focusing on that thought, the student will be using language like, well, I know I can do step one, because this program is built into steps, easy, approachable steps that help take that feeling of being overwhelmed and make it into little pieces. So you can at least take that step. And I think we all know what that's like when you overthink something and then you finally just start. It usually is not nearly as bad as what you had anticipated. So it's a piece that we're giving them. So we're not only teaching them how to write, we're teaching them how to think when they're writing. And we're giving them the language and the tools to be their own coach. And if you take the next slide. This is more of an example of what a classroom might begin to use this type of thinking. Like together with your students, you would sit and talk about how you do feel when you're asked to write. And if you look at these, some of these, I'm pretty sure I felt like one of them when I was driving here tonight, but I'm working on reframing that. But it really is helpful to have something like this where you as a class have created it and you as a class has kind of come up with the thinking that might be more productive. So as you can see, it's not, you know, I'm a novelist. It's just saying, what can I do? Am I on the right track? Or they literally can think, I'm going to try, that simple thing. And what I found really interesting in the training was that at the top of their paper, before they begin their writing, they're to choose something that they can write in the top. So when things get challenging in the writing process, they're to go to that. So instead of shutting down, we're giving them a tool to keep going. And if you think about it, that's a pretty good skill for life as well, right? Okay, so you're probably thinking about the why. Well, I'm going to jump right to the second bullet mark there. I think I can answer that with only 27% of students in our nation can write proficiently. So it's not just a local problem, it's across the country. But you don't have to be good at math to know that we need to make a change. So this program, or this framework, is backed by science, decades of science. And it has been found to not only improve their writing, but also their social emotional perspective. So Common Core state standards, this is what they're asking us to have. We need to meet those goals, and this is the route that we're going to take to do it. It's backed by research. We are in desperate need of some kind of support here. Teachers have been asking, what are we going to do with writing? And we're lucky that the Department of Ed in New Hampshire is already using it. Nashua and other districts like us are already starting to train teachers and get us involved in this new way of teaching writing. One big thing that I think the teachers really respected when we brought this to them at the last training was that we are not going to look at this as another thing to add on to the curriculum. Now, of course, in the very beginning of anything, there's going to be some stumbling and some learning, especially for the uppers, because the language won't already be in place. But as we get going in the next few years, it's going to go from grade level to grade level to grade level and build upon the expectation. But there'll be that foundation. And we are going to use this to support our knowledge in CKLA. So it's not going to be an add-on. It's going to be something that's going to help us become better with CKLA and for our students to learn more under CKLA while developing a stronger confidence as writers. That's pretty much.
I thought it was really wonderful to have such a great visual lined up to all the different other writing programs that we've had in the Nashua School District. I know I've used all of these in my career, to really see straight across the board what SRSD does offer compared to what is lacking from the other programs that we've tried implementing over the years. What makes SRSD so different is it is one of the only writing approaches that incorporates all the essential evidence-based practices. So we can see that it integrates our content instruction, and it just aligns so perfectly with what we're doing in CKLA. It really does take away, it's not that one extra thing, it's almost that one needed thing that now carries our language that we're learning and our instruction we're learning in CKLA to really carry over into such strong writing pieces. It develops that self-regulation that Kathleen did such a great job describing that's gonna really benefit all of our students. It's such a comprehensive framework. It's amazing to see all of the individual skills all at once students are learning. Being able to implement it in my classroom, just since the winter, we've had a couple trainings. The impact has been so powerful. My students are excited to write. They are so engaged by all the really wonderful songs that we use that go along, the great graphic organizers, the really beautiful anchor charts. There's wonderful little mnemonic strategies. They're just feeling so much more confident in what they're doing, and they're excited. They have such a strong motivation in their writing. It's supported by many different theorists. It's all evidence-based, and it's proven that as students are using this, we're going to see gains across the board in ELA. So it's just really wonderful just to see that visual. We've done the Writing Revolution, 6+ Traits Writing, Lucy Calkins, and just to see what's offered and provided to our students from SRSD. And then another way to look at that, providing traditional writing instruction. When we're teaching our students to write traditionally, they're really dependent on the teacher and what they're asking of them. Where the skills we're teaching in SRSD, we are empowering our students to become independent writers. And they're eventually gonna just be taking themselves through that writing process, not needing us to show them every little step of the way. What I also love about SRSD is all of our instruction from the beginning process through the middle to the end is driven with exemplars. So students are shown explicitly and taught, what does good writing look like? How do you create a really strong topic sentence? How do you find your information? What do details look like that support that information? You're explicitly teaching that to them and showing them what good writing looks like, and they're starting to really see that. I cannot believe the language my second graders are using and the vocabulary that they're able to identify as strong vocabulary at 7, 8 years old. It's absolutely incredible. They again, are all the skills that are taught. It's not piecemealed like we kind of used to do, like we're just gonna do our topic sentence. We're gonna spend 2 weeks on that. You are incorporating all things one after the other so that they're learning all of these important skills at once, but they're connected and it makes sense to them. Our instruction is extremely explicit and systematic. They are learning how to write. They're understanding what makes, again, a really strong topic sentence. What does good language look like? You're not just telling them, all right, write me a topic sentence, and they kind of look at you, deer in the headlights. What am I doing? You're showing it to them. You are actually teaching them that process. And again, knowing that it's going to be building from kindergarten all the way through our grades, it's just going to be spectacular to see what writers the Nashua School District ends up having. I know for me personally, I don't feel like I truly learned how to write till I got to college. And I don't want that for my students. I want them to leave the Nashua School District prepared and ready for college and going there being strong writers. And this program is going to get them there.
So there is a 6-step process with this. It starts with stage 1, which is really developing their and building their background knowledge. What we do is we start with a pre-assessment of their knowledge. There's a specific reading passage or something that they are presented with, like a video that they can read and figure out what the pieces are going to be kind of leading to. And then they have to come up with a answer to that after analyzing exemplars. And then stage 2 is discussing it. That's where we step in as the teachers. We really kind of enforce those strategies, and we talk about self-regulation. We revise samples, and we talk about some things that they need in their writing. And then we set goals for ourselves as a group, usually starting off, and then eventually we kind of move on to individual scoring. And then stage 3 is we model it. A lot of the times we do kind of like a self-talk type thing. We do it as we're going through, showing an example of how I would write, what it would look like, and I would act as if I'm a student, so that way they can see like the thought process. We call it a think aloud, and they are able to see the steps of the self-regulation throughout their writing. And then we move on to stage 4, which is kind of memorizing that information. There's a lot of mnemonics with it, so it's easy for them to see, especially when we have like anchor charts hanging up in the classrooms. It really helps them recall the strategies that we practice and how it can add to their writing. And then step 5 is we support it with scaffolds. A lot of times we have graphic organizers that they can use. They can build them themselves. And then at the end of their writing, they go through a self-score. Even in 2nd grade, I have them do it themselves. And it's really cool to see like, oh, I missed a topic sentence, or, oh, I'm missing some information here. And they can see that they're missing that, even though they're going through the graphic organizer and they have some of these pieces that are set in stone. When they're going to copy it onto their final draft, sometimes they miss it. And so they can connect those pieces back to the strategies that they use in the classroom. And then step 6 is where we're hoping to get them eventually, is that independent performance. So having them work independently on their writing and moving from let's work as a group to eventually having them do it on their own. And at this point, I've been doing this since like January, and I've seen such amazing work come from my students, and I really have started to take a step back, and there's such amazing writers already. So in the K-2, there are some different pieces between K-2 and 3+ in the elementary level. So the first part of that is the writing process. We use a mnemonic called POW, which stands for Plan, Organize, and Write. And then next to that, you'll see a toolkit, which kind of breaks down each of those pieces a little bit more. So the plan has 3 steps. And then there are 2 different organizers that they offer for us to do our writing. The most common one is the Tide organizer, and then C-Space is usually more for those character charts. And then again, with that scoring part, they're able to do that even at the younger levels. We use something that's like a little rocket, and they love it. And then the last piece is the skills that they're building. So they're able to develop sentences, vocabulary. Like Mandy said, there's a lot of vocabulary pieces that we take from CKLA. I have them almost every single day write a sentence that goes along with the story that we read that day. And they're able to take the vocabulary and put it into their sentences now without me even asking. Yeah. And then this is the POW organizer that we kind of use. We do it daily where we go POW.
And then to do this.
Yeah.
Superheroes, we do it with our second graders.
And then this is again that 3 parts for the K through 2. And then again with the 3+, it's really a similar process to K through 2. The main part that we're adding is that edit and revise step. So they're going back and they're editing their papers and adding those topic sentences or information that they missed. And then they're able to revise it on their own paper. And if they want to, they can go ahead and that next step and rewrite it. But oftentimes they just get through that and they're able to revise that information and show what they're missing, again, with that scoring sheet. And then there's that nice power, I should say, for the plan, organize, write, edit, and revise.
Oh, there we go. I'd have the magic touch. All right, so in terms of instructional components, they spoke to exemplars. So really being able to show a mentor text of kind of what a good sample looks like for students to both to inspire them and to serve as a guide. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. There's the collaborative writing process, which has been a part of good writing instruction, especially in the early years forever, but it really formalizes that a little bit in terms of doing some collaborative writing and modeling those practices that are part of Power and Tide, as well as integrating the self-regulation skills within that. And then in terms of scoring, really having students working with students to set those individual goals and give feedback on those. That's my microphone, not my computer. Okay. So this is an example of what it might look like to show and analyze an exemplar piece of writing, kind of going through with students, marking it up, highlighting the different components of it with different colors, circling key things depending on what your lesson focus is and what the focus is for a group of students to really show concretely what you're talking about and give examples of it in practice. This is one of the things that we have the people who are trained working on for the different grade levels of building out exemplars for the different writing prompts that will go with each CKLA module. I think we come back to that later in the presentation, but I joked with them too that they had me show this slide because I've promised that I will buy the highlighters for next year so that everyone has those. So now it's in the public record that I have promised that. So yes.
So this is an example of kind of just a layout of what our weekly power cycles look like. So when we start our lessons, the first thing that we do is the what, and that's looking at our really rich texts that we read with our students. And for Julie and I, that's been our CKLA texts. We read that with the students, and then we really pull apart and discuss all of that key vocabulary, some more of that difficult, strong language. And then we start working into that power cycle. And Julia did a very nice job of explaining how with our POW cycle, we start first with there's 3 Ps that we break apart with our students that we do together. The first is we do a pre-read of that particular text, and we've taught our students on how to make what we call the gist of a text or story. So they give you that who, what, when, where, why, and how. And they've gotten to be such pros at really being able to take, and I've learned now in my classroom, everything that I've done, that they give me the gist. And they like to share with me that that's what it is, which is fantastic, to kind of give you a summary about what you read. Then we use that to carry over into pulling apart, what is it that we're actually looking to accomplish? What is the question asking you? So we have a fun little, I guess, phrase or saying, we go, do what? And that's where you pull apart in the prompt. They're telling you to use evidence to explain your thinking. So we mark that down so the students know, okay, this is what my purpose is. This is what I'm supposed to do. Then from there, as a class, we do a brainstorm and we pick our ideas to help support that. Then moving on is when we start doing the really fun, their favorite part is they get to use their highlighters. They get to organize all those ideas, marking up what our topic sentence is. And my students have gotten so strong at understanding that when you state a fact or a piece of information, you should always support it with a detail. The more you can say, the better your writing is going to be. So my students have gotten so strong in 2nd grade at recognizing, well, that's just a fact, but we're missing something. We need to give a little bit more information. We need to say more. So then they're able to mark up those details along with their facts. And then we mark up our ending. And then my favorite part again now too has been the language that my 2nd graders can recognize as being strong, good language to use. Mm-hmm. So we use our blue highlighter and we mark up and circle any really good language that they recognize. Then from there, once we have all information organized in our Tide graphic organizer, we then carry it over into now getting to write, the W of our POW. And it's such good lessons in teaching them how to take the notes, we call that jot talk, which is our little notes we take, and how to make those into sentences. So we model that together. We do sentence frames or sentence starters, or we talk about how like, we can't just put these two, this 2-word phrase. How do we develop that into a really well put together sentence? So my students are now, like you said, only just in a few months, have really started to more independently be able to do that. We've started learning transitional phrases in 2nd grade and transitional words. So as we're writing, we're recognizing how do we keep our ideas organized? How do we keep this good flow? And they're learning how first, for example, another reason in 2nd grade. It's absolutely amazing. And then once we have our ideas written, then we finally go to our goals, which is the where am I right now? And as Julia had mentioned, we have these fun little visuals. They're called rockets. And that's where they actually get to self-assess. So they get to draw a rocket. So the top part's our topic. The little body is our information with a detail. We have 3 of them. That's what the expectation in 2nd grade is. Mm-hmm. And then the bottom part of their rocket is their ending. And then we draw a little 6 stars for their, hopefully, 6 good pieces of language. Usually we've been adding more stars because I'm doing really good with that. Mm-hmm. And they can actually visually go in and they look. If I see my topic, they color that part in green that matches the green. So they're actually visually seeing if they have everything or if they're actually missing something. So once they go back through, they're like, oh, I didn't have a detail to go with that bit of information. I better go back in and add it. So they're able to have that self-regulation themselves and see what they're missing, what they could add. And then from there, we have peer shares. They read it through together. They double check, read their reading to make sure it sounds appropriate. And they're just getting so much more independent and being able to, into recognizing that. So it's been awesome.
So a little bit more on how we use it in the classroom. In the middle is actually the anchor chart that I have hanging in my room. It's directly from the Think SRSD or Releasing Writers training that we did. And on the left side is our GIST organizer that we use every single day with CKLA. So once we're done with our story, they go on their own or with a partner. At first, we started it as a class, but at this point, they're now more independent. And find who did what, when, where, how, why, what happened. And then they create a sentence just to summarize what they read or what they heard. On on the back side of it, usually I have an extra space where they get to actually write some extra details about the story that aren't included with the gist statement. So that way, when we go back to use it for our writing, they have those examples already for them. And then down at the bottom, there's the pull apart the prompt, like we said, our do what. And I have this hanging in my classroom, so right along with the prompt that's for the domain, because in second grade, we have 12 domains. And we kind of split it so there's a prompt for each domain, so it's not overwhelming for the students. And they pull apart the prompt at the very beginning of the domain, so that way by the end of it, they know what is expected in their writing. Once we get through most if all of the CKLA stories, at that point, we do our pick ideas, so that way they can start their writing. And then that leads to our last piece, which is the organizer, where they can write their tied L, and they're looking for those pieces that are going to be in their writing. Once they complete all of this, then they get through their writing process and they can finalize their writing. And then we usually add a little picture and move on.
This is just another nice visual kind of laying out the framework or the map of what we follow, putting SRSD with CKLA. I will say originally they had it set up so this is completed in a week, but as we've been doing this, we've kind of felt more strongly where it kind of depends on which domain you're covering. Like, for example, when I taught the Civil War in second grade, this took longer than a week to be able to come up with a prompt. We needed more time, much more challenging vocabulary, content. But we did our domain on nutrition and ways to keep your body healthy. We're able to complete that in a week. So it just depends on what your content is. So we kind of left it more of just a guideline of the areas you're covering, not restricting it to it needs to be completed within a week. It's really where your students are and what they need and what content you're covering. But throughout this process, we are using exemplars purposely throughout the whole process. They're giving that model of what should be expected before, during, and even after writing. And again, that self-talk that we discussed is sprinkled in the whole process, reminding them of how they can do it. I know it might be challenging, but you've got this. And the kids are just responding so well to that, and they're really taking that on. The first 3 boxes are a before writing piece. This is just to kind of go back over the reading our rich texts, breaking apart and defining that vocabulary, and then that's when we do our gist statement. And then the next piece is the second 2 Ps, which is the do what, pulling apart the prompt, and then picking our ideas. And then the final before writing piece is highlighting our key components and title and carrying that over into a graphic organizer. Then we get to the actual writing part. I've done this both ways, where I have done it collaboratively, where we've done writing prompts as a whole class, and we'll do it on my anchor chart together as a group. And then we've also done it individually, where students are able to respond on their own to a prompt. So it's great to see it in both formats. And again, that's where we take our notes and we practice making full sentences using sentence frames, or just helping them go through and take those ideas and developing them into complete sentences. Going over this and sharing it with a partner. And then when we go to revising, that's our after writing part, is where we complete our rocket. And then students are able to then go through, do any grammar corrections using our caps, capitalization, punctuation, spelling. And then we always set a goal for ourselves after we're done. What's one area that we can improve on? Could we add to? Do we want to move forward with all those different pieces? So this is really the framework of what every teacher will follow when they're implementing this.
And one thing that I want to add really quick is that this doesn't just happen in writing. It does seem to be transferring over to other subjects. So when we take tests, on the tests before they're doing them, they're writing their self-talk, and I'm not even asking them to do that. And they're doing that with math as well. With our
Math empowered.
yeah. With the word problems that we have to solve, a lot of the times they're using that do what in order to figure out what the question is asking. So they're using it outside of writing as well.
Completely agree.
Great, thank you. I think the most exciting thing for me has been to see all of the leadership from our teachers and reading specialists as well as part of this process. So just to name that and call that out, it's been really exciting to see the work that they've done in leading this initiative as well with their peers. And they'll be critical in the rollout for the spring as everyone's doing the work. To have some experts in each building already is important. So like we shared, the full staff, K to 5, will have training at the September and November early release days. Those are already booked, and those will occur by grade level. So all of the kindergarten teachers will be trained together, all of grade 1, et cetera. And then the launch team that was trained this year is doing some work currently and through the spring, and I expect into the summer, working on building those connections with CKLA so that the writing that they're doing with releasing writers is connected to the reading that they've done with CKLA. So those will really be integrated so that it's not a separate thing that has to fit into the already very tight schedule. And then also developing those exemplars to match the prompts that go with CKLA. So we're hoping to go into next year kind of prepped with those things ready to go for a smooth rollout. At this time, we'll take any questions.
Well, I just want to start off with, you had me at highlighters. You all have seen my calendar. Ms. Lewis and then Ms. Prin.
Just one question, Dr. Scarpati. Was it just kindergarten?
Nope, it will be kindergarten through grade 5, trained in the fall, and that did the initial training. So they just will do it by grade level separately because the kindergarten teachers need a little bit of a different training than, say, a grade 5 teacher in terms of what's expected. So it will be differentiated, but K to 5.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you. Again, being a mom and my daughter going through the pandemic, being in kindergarten, I think I'm so appreciative of this because it was a huge struggle. And I'm so appreciative of this because I think that it's so needed. And thank you again for the work.
Ms. Prin, then Ms. Lampier.
I have a couple questions and a comment. I'll start with a comment. We use a different program. We use something else in my district. Colored pencils work really well too. We use those instead of highlighters. We have workbooks that have like newsprint and the markers bleed through. So just a note. And how do the students organize the materials? Are they keeping like a writer's notebook? How are they, I'm just thinking in my brain as a teacher, the logistics of organizing all that stuff. How do the kids organize?
Yeah. In my classroom, what I have them do is they have a writing folder. Inside it on the left is all of their self-talk and self-regulation strategies. And then on the right side is those daily sheets that we have, and then any of their extra writing that they have for that day. Say if we're working on one of the graphic organizers, that would stay in there too. And then once we're finished with the domain, I send it home as a nice little packet.
Very similar to what she does. I use a binder. So all the graphic organizers, I hole punch and we keep them collected in their binder. And then I have like a specific writing paper that they use for second grade to help with handwriting. And that's what I also keep within their binder as well too. And then, yep, like you said, when they're done, we just send it home so parents can see all their excellent writing.
All their writing, okay.
They do talk about using notebooks. I think probably older age, like closer to 5th grade, 4th, 5th grade, like composition book.
Yeah.
Is what they showed us during our training as well too, and that they just mark that up and keep their ideas collected just in a notebook. For second grade, it's a little bit more challenging.
There's a lot of papers.
A lot,
That's what I was just trying to
exactly.
think of the
Yeah, so for that
organizations, like,
age,
yeah.
that seemed better for us. Yeah. But notebooks for older students is absolutely perfect too.
Okay. And how much time is this? I know for CKLA, the ELA block can be long. How much time is this adding to your ELA block? Not a lot?
I don't feel like it's adding any time because we use that as part of our application. Like what we usually use is the application problem time. Once we've finished reading all the stories, that is what kind of accumulates all of our work, is that particular writing piece. So it really has not added any additional time to what we already use.
That's great.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
I've noticed the same thing. We, like she said, have been using it as the application problem, and a lot of the times it does tie in exactly with what their application was going to be anyway. So it is just transferring it to this model rather than just kind of like a blank piece of paper.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Lampier?
Hi, the presentation was so great. I was just wondering, I know at that age, first and second grade, some kids might still be struggling to learn how to read. And I didn't know how they stay part of the class if they can't do the other stuff that you're teaching.
So for our students with CKLA, our stories are read alouds. So the actual content is either being read aloud to them by the teacher or it is played on a recording so they can hear them. So they're still able to get the content and that rich discussion during that time. And then in second, we also provide like Foundations is our phonics instruction that we have. So our whole ELA model, they're getting phonics instruction through Foundations. They're getting their comprehension, their content knowledge through CKLA. And then they're getting that modeled writing instruction from us as well too. So even some of my more struggling learners have not had any issues not being able to access it, being able to keep up. They've been very successful.
If they're struggling with writing, with reading, how are they able to write when it comes their turn to do it?
So with the younger kids, what they suggest is have them start with pictures. So instead of like the organizer where it's a writing piece, they have the picture piece. And one of my students that is really struggling with their writing chooses to do pictures. And she can explain it to me, and then I write it on a separate piece of paper for her to have that second, so that way she can explain it to her parents pretty much.
In addition to that, too, there's a lot of scaffolding, and there probably will be for every grade level. But if you're thinking more along the lines of kindergarten beginning first, there's going to be a lot of whole group work on it, where you're collaborating together because you're teaching them, you're actually modeling out the writing process. And they're going to need to see that and be a part of that a number of times before that becomes a skill that they're able to handle on their own. And then even then, you may have to add some other scaffolding depending on where your students are as writers and what they can do independently. That could be the pictures that like they spoke of, it could be sentence starters, and it could just be that you slow the process down a little bit. So teachers will definitely differentiate depending on where their students as a whole are as writers, and then we will always have an outlier or somebody who's working at a different level that might need a different type of support. But the underlying piece is that they're all going to be learning, that they're going to be able to learn the writing process. And that's the goal of this. So you don't have to be the top of the class or the bottom of the class. You just have to be in that classroom hearing and seeing the modeling and collaborating with the class, I think.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Raymond, then Mr. Salvi.
Oh, thank you. I was really excited by the slide that showed the highlighting on the paper. And I don't remember what grade my daughter started doing this in, but it was with word problems. And when you talked about how they're applying it to, other subjects, I remember her doing this with word problems for probably a couple years, where she would really use circles and underlines and boxes to determine what the question was asking her so that she could answer it.
I still have to do that.
And it's funny, when I was reading this at home, I was like, why does this look so familiar? And it wasn't until you said math that I was like,
Right. And
I remember this from homework.
in addition, it's what one of us had spoken to, that it actually shows them what that looks like. So when they're highlighting those parts, and that's the topic sentence, they have that highlighted. They see what that looks like. It's not just that big paragraph they're staring at, and we're expecting them to realize which piece of that writing passage had that topic sentence or the detail. So whatever it is, I find that the coloring, which I do like your recommendation, because highlighters, they dry up quick too. Yeah, it's very disappointing.
One loose cap.
Yeah. And if it's not, and there's a lot of complaining when they even get a little lighter. So that, I really am going to take that back to everyone, that your information. Yes.
You have to sharpen a lot.
Yeah, we're going to need sharpeners.
I think as we move into state testing season as well, more for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, I completed the training for the 4th and 5th grade students as a former 4th grade teacher and a 1st grade teacher. It was really interesting and I think powerful to see how you can take something that's visually overwhelming and be able to hone in on exactly what it's asking you to do. A lot of times we as adults have taken tests for college and other things, and it's very overwhelming. So it helps you to kind of cut out the extra information that might be important but might not tell you what you're expected to do. Like they said, you can see it transfer to science, social studies, reading, math. It's really, I think, a skill that carries you through life, being able to kind of pick through some of the weeds and find those big pieces they're asking you for.
I have a question related to I really like the concept. It's definitely serving lots of students of various groups and all. So I think that's a good concept. Do you guys see any implementation challenges? Like we have a class size maybe around 20, 25 students, right? And each students might be at a different level. So by end of the week or by end of the month, how you guys basically see that this particular stuff is really working, and what kind of criteria you're trying to basically set in your mind that, yes, absolutely, this is helping all the students of different levels, and they are really learning something over a period of 3 months? Because I'm assuming that at least you guys are using 2 to 3 hours every day to teach this thing, right? Minimum.
I think the big part is that we want to teach them how to write, right? This is a framework, and we don't want to send, and I know that we've all experienced that as teachers, where you have this great lesson and you have this great writing prompt and you read this great story and everyone's really excited, and then you send them off to write and you look around the room and nobody's writing, actually. And they're either slapping their pencil, which is so annoying, or they're saying, I don't know how to do it, before they even got to their seat. So what I think the biggest piece to this is, regardless of what level you are in and how maybe to the depth of your ability to write, you're going to know the step you need to take. And I think that that's going to happen a lot through that teacher modeling. Because even when we talked, I was at a meeting with some teachers in Manchester, and I was concerned with some of that, what you were talking about, but the things that came to my mind were, you're going to have to differentiate, you're going to need to scaffold, and those are definitely true. But the underlying things that, even if you're scaffolding it, even if you're offering a sentence starter, or you're offering them to draw something, or you're supporting them just a little bit more than the person beside them, they're still learning that process. And through those acronyms, they're going to be able to tell you what the process is, so that they're going to be more independent there. And I think to know if that criteria got done, you need to know your individual students. You're going to want them, you're going to want to challenge them, you're going to want it to be probably a step above maybe where they're performing now, especially after all the modeling. But you're going to know your students and what they need. What you want is progress, right? It's not always perfection, it's progress. So I think that that would be individualized to some extent, but you're always pushing for higher, for better for your students.
The other thing with it too is usually we're starting off with the teacher-based model or working collaboratively. I cannot say that word apparently, as a group. So they are doing it with you and they're learning the process as you're doing it. And I can really speak to one of my students who struggled really hard, did not want to pick up a pencil from the beginning of the year. He is now doing it on his own, and he is really proud of his work, and he is like one of my top writers now at this point. So he is really excited about it. He still gets stuck every once in a while, but then we remind him of his strategies, and it's been really helping.
Thank you.
Ms. Hold on, I wrote it down because I can read it. Praturu.
Thank you. I'm not sure if you really touched on this, but one thing I've noticed as a student that helps in some classes is being able to relate, whether it's like a style of work or like a way of thinking to other subjects. So like my question is there a way in this approach that you kind of think reflects that?
I think kind of cycling back to what we had discussed earlier, the beginning piece where they're highlighting the do what, they're picking apart what they have to do and what they have to find is a skill that can be applied to other subjects. So yes, you can use that when you're modeling your writing, but who's to say you can't take a math word problem, which as a former first grade teacher, very difficult for kiddos who struggle to read and are now also working on grasping more complex math problems and concepts. Who's to say you don't take one of those and pull it apart and say, okay, our word problem says this. What is it asking us to do? What do we have to find? That could be a way to see transfer to other word problems, or same thing with science. I know in high school, science was hard for me with all of the equations and the information that's provided to you. So, okay, let's look at this giant paragraph, take a step back and figure out, okay, well, this is extra information that doesn't actually need to be focused on for the purpose of solving this problem. That's how I would visualize using it as students become more comfortable. And I think starting out of the gate, showing them it's not just for writing, it's a general life skill, can be really impactful for them too.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, and I think just to add on, we know that strong writing is a skill that benefits students across all subject areas, and I'm sure your teachers have you guys writing in all of your classes, so we're hoping that this work will set our students up to be successful students throughout their career here. But I would like to thank Amanda, Julia, Allison, and Kathleen for being here this evening, for preparing the presentation, and for all of their work on this important project. So thank you, guys. Excellent.
Yes, thank you very much. It was well done. Well done. All right. So the robotics team is actually going to come back and present on April 27th. Is that what you said? Yes. April 27th. So now we're back into the part of, they needed to leave at 6:30, but they also needed to submit a PowerPoint that we weren't ready to give. So they had a fun time hanging out with us for a little bit, but they'll come back and work on it.
I called them.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. Thank you guys for coming. Okay, this brings it, Ms. Lopez?
Before we move on, I had a question. Can I address Dr. Scarpati? It's about this curriculum.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a question. So my question is, like, with the different variables of learning styles, right? So you start out in groups and then you move to separate, working independently. Are the paras also being trained on this curriculum for the people that need to help support the teachers? Like, I wasn't sure. I know that we have trained in the second grade and we're gonna expand it out to September, but I was wondering, is that a possibility? Is that already currently happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what's happened so far is that every building has had a reading specialist and a classroom teacher trained. So 24 teaching level staff have been trained in the district thus far. And we staggered the grade level across building. So like in Bicentennial and New Searles, it was a reading specialist and a grade 2 teacher. At Birch Hill, it was a reading specialist and a grade 5 teacher. Dr. Chris was reading specialist and a kindergarten teacher, and so on. So we have all the grade levels covered through that. We have not had any paraeducators trained at this point, but I think that that's a piece that I need to think about for the September day and probably ask some more questions of the trainer to see what, is the full 2-day training what is most relevant, or is there a different training that maybe we can offer on, say, the October early release day, for example, of specifically to how do you support in the classroom with that program. So I think that's a great piece for me to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. This brings us up to our consent agenda. I am looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Lopez, any comments or questions in regards to the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We have no communication outside the consent agenda. Ms. Prin, can I still have you grab the public comment? Yes. the designated runner.
Yeah.
Sharon hit it out of the park. Kirsten brings it over. But another awesome dress. The yellow one is the second public comment, and that's at the end. Okay, up first, Gary Hoffman. And don't forget to name, date of birth, not name, date of birth. That's
Gary Hoffman, August 16th, 1979, 38
insurance
Perham
number.
Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, Townhouse D. I'm also the president of the Teachers Union. First item I'd like to speak about tonight is under the new the new business, the recommendation to approve the memorandum of understanding for Title I teachers. This memorandum of understanding, I feel like, has been the culmination actually of about a decade of discussions between the district and the Nashua Teachers Union over what in fact is the schedule of our part-time Title I teachers. And on our end, we were able to sit down with Dr. Andrade and Dr. Scarpati and discuss, what in fact is the part-time Title I teacher's schedule. And there's about 40 years of tradition and past practice that have led to this schedule that's actually memorialized in here. My hope is that this passes tonight and that we can someday get this into one of our contracts or some other way memorialized. This will help out, the district going forward. To give clarity, we've had superintendents in the past ask about this schedule, so I really encourage everybody to pass this unanimously. I also thank Dr. Andre and Dr. Scarpati for working with me on it, and I know the Title I teachers will be thrilled if this passes. Secondly, I would just like to speak about, I know that the Committee on Budget is on the agenda tonight, and I just want to point out a couple of things. The past couple of weeks for my members have been really difficult. We've had a lot of non-renewals, a lot of resignations, a lot of pink slips have gone out. In fact, I believe the last ones went out today. And I know the people who are leaving us. I don't know the positions yet. I do encourage this board to get a list of the positions that we are losing as a district. I know that these budgetary decisions are largely out of the control of the city of Nashua, but I do believe that our friends up at the state level really need to understand the impact of their decisions with our taxation policy, that this is in fact impacting not just Nashua, but all the communities in the state of New Hampshire. I am worried about what's happening, especially to regular education in the city of Nashua. There are laws that say, yes, we should, provide services for special education, ELL, but when I looked at a lot of the positions being cut, they're the regular ed positions. I'm worried, for example, I looked at some of the people that are going, a lot of them are foreign language teachers. And, I sit there and I think what attracts Nashua, people to Nashua or any community, it's these programs. And I don't know the positions that are being cut. I know the people, but I think that the community needs to understand what's happening here. And so that maybe if we say what's happening here, other communities will say what's happening, and that maybe the people at the state, maybe they'll rethink that interest and dividends tax, the business profit tax cut, that we've lost about $400 million as a state, because it is having an impact. It is hurting our kids. It is hurting our future. And so thank you. So make that list public.
Thank you. Claudia Decker?
Good evening, members of the board. Haven't done this in a while, so do I need to do the address thing, or do I just start in on what I'm going to say this evening?
Well, you're a teacher here, so just give the school that you're working in.
Okay, so I work at Nashua High North, currently head teacher of world language, and I teach Spanish. So I'm before you this evening to speak in support of the world language programs or rather the positions that were eliminated last Friday. Specifically 2 middle school French positions and 1 high school Latin position. These are not simply staffing decisions, they're decisions that will have lasting consequences for our students, our programs, and our district as a whole. Our middle school French courses directly feed into robust and growing French programs at both high schools. They are the pipeline for that has taken years to build and to sustain, and without early access, fewer students will continue, and over time, strong high school programs will diminish. The elimination of the Latin position is equally concerning. Latin provides students with a deep understanding of language. It strengthens literacy and develops analytical thinking. It is a critical foundation for students pursuing careers in medicine and law, and where terminology and precision of language are essential. I respectfully ask the board to consider a creative solution. Allow the remaining sections of Latin to run next year so that the program is not entirely lost. In addition, consider leveraging Megan Miller's expertise by offering her an opportunity to teach mythology or a related social studies class. This approach would preserve a highly effective educator and maintain student interest, as well as give the Latin program the opportunity to survive and rebuild rather than disappear. Once a program like these are cut, they are incredibly difficult to restore. This is not just a budget decision, it is a statement about what we value as a district and what opportunities we believe our students deserve. I urge you to reconsider these cuts and recognize that investing in world language education is an investment in our students' futures. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are these the students that were here for the robotics?
Yes, that's why I put the little students next to them.
But are they still here?
No, they had to leave.
No, okay. So just Matrigi and Isabel, just making sure you're not here. Okay. Chesley, come on down. Chesley Marvin, sorry, I can't just be like, hey.
Hi, everyone. Chesley Marvin, 10 Marion Lane. I actually want to talk about the curriculum presentation. I wrote on this yellow sheet curriculum, so they left to right. Anyway, so I loved that POW presentation and hearing from the teachers emphasize the importance of independence, collaboration, and positive self-talk and perseverance, even in the youngest grades. Building on that, I would love to hear more about what we're doing to foster the intrinsic motivation in those activities, and I think those two things go pretty hand in hand. I noticed them mention a lot of the aspects of the peer-to-peer assessment and the personal assessment, and I'm wondering if we've thought about moving away from the top-down grading system across the board and toward assessment, kind of like the Amherst district does. I think that would be good to look into, all kinds of benefits from that type of assessment over just the grading. And then genuinely, I wonder what's stopping us from adopting new frameworks like this that don't actually cost money to improve our proficiency without the legislative mandates. For example, there are no state statutes or DOE rules mandating number of instructional minutes for individual subjects, and we do know that recess, which is free, has numerous benefits to children's mental, physical health, as well as performance in the classroom. And I think in tight budget times, it's innovation like this that is critical to the survival of our district. Womp womp. And I do have an additional question about this curriculum. If the current legislation that passed the Senate a couple months ago and is in the House right now, SB 578. As written, it would mandate play-based kindergarten through third grade, and I'm just kind of wondering how all of this would work together. But the reason I bring it up, not because I don't think it would work together, is because the way that it was written by the Senate is that it would go into effect 60 days after passage. So if we're like already adopting new frameworks, we might as well start looking at how we could integrate if there's coming legislation that would take effect like literally right as you're trying to roll this out. And a lot of teachers, by the way, I loved hearing from them. I think if you ask them what they think about recess, they'd have a lot of good things to say and how we could implement it. And then I'll just speak once. I don't need to come up again when y'all pick this yellow paper up, but on the budget. I'd love to see, kind of echoing Gary, when will we see more public discussion on those important budget decisions? And really the conversation early and often, not just in budget season, would really help the public to understand what's going on and be able to sit with it and then come and comment on the things that matter to us. And not like I want to force an early decision or anything like that, but people like me are losing sleep over the not knowing what's going to happen, and mostly like the type A people who feel the need to show up and comment at every one of your meetings. So the more the better. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. It was 1 second under 3 minutes, Chesley. That was really good. You know how I like a time clock. I think we have time. We're actually going to just flip this because I know you guys need to get out of here at 8. So we're going to do superintendent's comments, and then if we're okay, we'll do student board member comments, and then us adults can just make noise after them. Okay.
Did the students want to go first?
Do you guys want to go first? Sure. You can step right over that. Go ahead.
Spring sports started a few weeks ago. Games are starting this week. I know the North boys lacrosse team had a game today. I don't know how that went, but hopefully they won.
Let's assume they won. Go North.
I believe there was also the Battle of the Bridge for the girls, or I'm not sure if it was just the girls, but track today. So I'm also not sure how that went, but I hope it went well for both schools. And then Nashua North already had their junior prom, but Nashua South's junior prom is this Friday, so go buy your tickets.
All right, Casey,
Hot off
thank
the
you.
presses, South one. Sorry, Leah.
I had a parent tell me that she was like, you have to support all the district. You're on the board. And I was like, when we're at a sports game, I am a North parent.
You're the North, I'm the South. We got it covered.
It's good balance.
Yeah, both my girls are on the South track team, so.
Okay, you can win this
Yeah,
time.
I'll root for them. You can root for North.
Congratulations.
1-0.
All right, Dr. Andre, floor is yours.
Thank you. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to our school and district leadership for their professionalism and steady leadership during last week's reported threats. In particular, I want to thank Principal Cerrone, Principal Mahoney, Jason Garrett, our administration, and our admin assistants for their calm, coordinated response. I also want to extend our gratitude to the Nashua Police Department and the New Hampshire State Police for their partnership, expertise, and continued commitment to the safety of our schools. I'm also proud to highlight the outstanding accomplishments of our students at Nashua High School South. Enrique Almeida, Adrian Varulis, and Karen Basida have been named finalists in the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow competition. Their innovative work in engineering and problem solving has earned them the opportunity to present on a national stage. They will participate in a final events this week in Washington, D.C., including a live pitch at the Washington Post and a showcase on Capitol Hill. We wish them the very best as they represent Nashua on a national level. We also invite the community to celebrate the creativity of our students at the Secondary Student Art Show and Reception. This event will take place on Tuesday, April 14th from 5 to 7 at the Nashua Center for the Arts on Main Street. The exhibition will feature more than 50 pieces of artwork from our middle school and high school students and will remain on display through mid-July. Thank you to Angela Walsh and our dedicated art educators for organizing this inspiring showcase. At Maine Dunstable Elementary School, students recently demonstrated their enthusiasm during their readathon, raising over $12,000 under the leadership of their student council and their advisors. As part of their celebration, students enjoyed a creative reading experience with themed campsites and prize activities. Additionally, we are proud to share that Mrs. Perry, a third grader at Maine Dunstable, was named 95.7 WZID Teacher of the Month for March, an honor that reflects her commitment to meeting the needs of every learner. In athletics, we are proud of our high school seniors who were recognized at the NHADA IAA Scholar Athlete Ceremony. A total of 59 students from Nashua North and Nashua South were honored for maintaining strong academic performance while competing in multiple sports. We extend special congratulations to Nashua South senior Josh Tripp, who received both the Division I and statewide scholarship awards. We also look forward to our first Battle of the Bridge event this evening. We got the outcome with the track and field competition taking place. And finally, I want to make the community aware of an upcoming safety exercise on April 15th. Sunset Heights Elementary School will participate in a reunification drill in coordination with Nashua Emergency Management, Nashua Fire, Nashua Police, and several other community partners. This is only a drill. However, families and community members should expect to see an increased presence of emergency vehicles on school grounds that day. And again, I want to thank everyone for the continued support of the Nashua schools. Thank you.
Thank you. In the past, we've been able to write, or we have written letters of acknowledgement for the people that have helped us out. I can't sign for things as the board president without all of your consensus, but do we want to send a letter of acknowledgement to the state police and to Nashua Police?
That would be fantastic.
Okay. Do I get consensus that I can sign as board president?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. We'll write something up, I'll send it out shortly. Okay, Ms. Gilio, we'll start off with your board member comments.
Thank you, because I'm glad the students are still here, because I'm going to address something that they may be excited about, at least one of them. Both of them should be. I've been watching the Granite State Challenge program for years and years and years and years. And both of our high schools, both North and South, made it through the first round, and just last week, South made it through the second round. But I want to say something about that I think could garner you all more points, and that is this. In the second round, Mr. Cannon tells everyone that you each get a question. If you don't know the answer, you can say pass, and the person next to you can answer it, or they could say pass, and the person next to them can answer it. If you don't say pass, you get it wrong. And once you get 3 questions wrong, you've lost 30 points. And I've tried to write to the I've tried to contact the program, and I've gotten just upended. So it's really important, even though he goes and discusses that pass, people seem to get the question and then look like the deer in the headlights. And it's like, I don't know that, when all they have to do is just say pass, pass, pass. So, and good luck to both of them going forward.
I think I have a teacher who's mildly involved with that, so I'll let them know.
Oh, great, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you have money writing on this game, Ms. Gilio?
No, I've just been watching it forever. And I love watching it, and it's so exciting when our schools do well. I mean, it's really, and on the group that won last week, our Thanasi won. He was on that panel, and he used to be one of our student reps here.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, yeah, I know. Thank you, Dr. Andrade, for all the other good news, but I just wanted to add that.
Ms. Prin?
Thank you for all the updates, and now I'm going to pass to my neighbor, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson?
I will stare like a deer in headlights. And no, it's great to hear all the spring sports starting, and and the successes that the students are having.
Ms. Lewis?
All right. As a sports mom and a coach, I love to hear all this. There's a game tomorrow night at McCarthy, so please attend for baseball. I did put together some words, so I did want to say this. This is coming from being a proud Nashua citizen, and I'm really happy of the work that we've done here in this community. So tonight, I'm going to use my voice to speak for those that are still learning the power that lays within theirs. So with that being said, I'd just like to take this moment just to speak a little bit about student safety, especially what happens beyond the school day, when our students are still a part of our community. Lately, there have been situations that highlight some uncertainty, not just for students, but even for our adults. So beyond the school day, lately there have been situations I'm sorry, let me start again. Lately, there have been some situations that highlight some uncertainty, not just for students, but even for adults, about what happens next. How to access support and how we make sure students are safe and cared for. It really made me think about how we're responding to student conflicts outside of school, how students understand their rights, and how to advocate for themselves, and how families and community systems come together in those moments. I see this as an opportunity for us to do better together, working alongside families, community partners, public safety, and to make sure our response is clear, consistent, and centered on care. I'd really like to see us continue building on education around student rights, response protocols, and restorative supports. So every student, no matter their background, no matter the neighborhood they live in, they can feel safe and seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Mr. Salvi?
Couple of comments. First of all, thanks for the update. And I really enjoy last week negotiation sessions. It was really a great experience going from one room to another room.
We can't talk about negotiations in public.
But I didn't want to talk. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that I like the experience. I don't want to
Oh,
talk
good.
about the negotiations.
Okay.
Because that I learned on
I got to
that
nip
day.
that in the bud real quick.
Second thing, I felt bad to that. I invited that robotics team, and if I could have avoided their travel, so please text me if that is not going to happen. Otherwise, I really feel bad that they must have come from their schedule, came here, and they are coming on 27th. Unfortunately, I'm not there on 27th. I'm traveling to Spain for my daughter's marriage.
Oh, sounds horrible.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lamphere?
I happened to be at the Adult Learning Center on the day of the scare that we had, and I just wanted to thank Dr. Andre because while I was there, I had people that work at the Adult Learning Center come up to me, and rather than being nervous or wondering what was going on, they knew everything because they, we saw what the report Dr. Andre put out, and we're so glad that we know what's going on, and it makes us feel safe that he's in charge over there. So I think that makes a really big difference to everyone in the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez?
No comment.
Ms. Raymond?
No, I don't have a response. Oh, actually, I did want to say something. I did go to the NHIAA Scholar Athlete Awards, and Nashua had a huge contingent of students. And I just wanted to highlight for everybody, in order to get the Scholar Athlete Award, those students have to maintain at least a B+ average, which is like a 3.3 out of 4. And play 2 sports every year, all 4 years of high school, and demonstrate community service or other leadership. And they have to be nominated by the principal and the athletic director. So it's a pretty high bar. And so for Nashua to send 59 kids it's pretty remarkable. I mean, other districts had many kids too, but not like Nashua. So it was really exciting to be a Nashua parent in that room. So.
Yeah, last year I didn't realize parking was going to be an issue. I was like, what am I going to? Then I'm parking down a hill and in heels, and I had to run. Then I was late.
Yeah,
and made everyone look bad.
It's at the it's at Concord. Just to let people know, it's a big deal. It's they take a bus, they have breakfast, and then it's an award ceremony for the whole state up at the Concord Center for the Arts, which is first come first serve. And if you don't get there early, you're going to end up in the back row of the balcony.
Back row in the balcony.
And they read each student's name. They each get to shake the governor's hand. And they put their face up on the screen. It's nice. So
Yep.
Lots of proud parents.
Yes.
My son missed the bus that day. He got the award, but didn't get to go to Concord.
I love kids, man. They just keep, they keep everything real. I have no comments. No more. I've talked through this. So you see our updates for budget. We have several meetings coming up. Again, you all know that I will be at all of these. If anybody wants to join me, I always have a seat open next to me.
Just a note that Monday, June 8th, we have a school board meeting, and Wednesday, June 10th is graduation. So we won't be at all of them because you'll be here.
Those are not in my book yet. We'll make them change it. Call them up, tell them what's what. Okay, Committee on Finance and Operations, we didn't have a meeting yet, but Ms. Lampier, do we have the next meeting? Do you know when that is?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't look.
Okay. Next Tuesday, Dr. Andre is saying. Okay, so I will hand the floor over to Ms. Raymond for Committee on Policy.
All right, thank you. I don't know if everybody had a chance to check their email this afternoon, but there was an updated agenda that came out because the policies originally were under first reading, but they should have been under second reading because they all came here. And we had a little brief overview of them last meeting. So I'm just going to move right into making motions. So I move that we approve policy JJJA, student co-curricular academic eligibility.
Second.
No, I said that.
Yep, you made the motion.
Any comments or questions? We
just
kind
wa-
of did a rundown.
I thought maybe I said it wrong, but I said it fine enough. Okay.
No, you gave us kind of an overview at the last meeting. Was there any other big changes at your committee meeting?
There wasn't. We only changed what is in red here. There was no changes since the last meeting here. Just a little preview. There will be next week when policy meets, we have a related policy regarding behavioral expectations for eligibility for co-curricular activities.
Okay.
But I think this one can go forward and then we can approve that one next week.
Okay. So Ms. Raymond made the motion, Mr. Johnson seconded it. Everybody, all those in favor of approving policy JJJA, student co-curricular activity eligibility, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So just,
Passes.
it should say student co-curricular activity academic eligibility. And it does on the actual policy, just not on the
Okay.
thing. Yes. Just academic got dropped on the agenda, but it's on the, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay, I move that we approve JJJA-R, which is the appeal form for academic eligibility for high school, for middle and high school students.
Second.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving policy JJJA-R, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Sorry, I have scrolled too fast and I've gone a page too far. All right, I move that we approve policy IFA, instructional needs of each individual student.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving policy IFA, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. I move that we rescind policy GCQ, dismissal, non-renomination, and removal of teachers.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any comments or questions in regards to this policy? Seeing none, all those in favor of rescinding policy GCQ, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. All right, I move that we approve policy JICI, weapons on school property.
Second.
Any comments or questions in regards to policy JICI? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. I move that we approve policy JJJC, student activity fee.
Second.
And I just want to note that just so that it's out in public again. We are not changing the student activity fee. We're required by law to review all of our policies. It's supposed to be every 4 years. We have a lot of policies. Sometimes it takes us a little longer. But this activity fee is staying the same as it has been since 2015.
All right, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving policy JJJC, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and then the last one, I'm not sure if I need to make 2 motions, one for KA and one for IGO, or if we can approve both policies at the same time since they're the same. Mr. Proska, do you have thoughts on that?
I think we have a similar policy coming up next month where we're actually putting them together, looking at them independently, but they are the same.
Yep.
So my recommendation would be to push them both forward to approve IJO and approve KA.
Okay, all right, so I will make the motion to approve policies KA and policy IJO, school, family, and community partnerships, because they're the same, they just are located in 2 different places, because that's what makes sense when you're looking for the policy. They're in different, because our policies are arranged by subject matter.
What was your motion again?
To approve policy KA and policy IJO, both entitled School, Family, and Community Partnerships. One's under, K is Community Relationships, and I is Instruction.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing policy KA and IJO, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, we meet next week on, I don't know what day next week, whatever day we always meet, on Tuesday? And we have some exciting things coming up.
Is it the normal time or is it early?
Oh, it better be the normal time.
Normal time.
Oh, F&O's on Monday.
Yep.
I'm super looking forward to next week.
Good. Just a little housekeeping for policy, if this is something that would benefit you. NHSBA has given me an update that if we're, you know how we're just supposed to like review policies every 4 years? If we're not making any changes and you're reading it and approving it, it can actually just go on the consent agenda. If it doesn't need a discussion, if it's just kind of a boilerplate policy that doesn't need an extensive review, it just means that it goes on the consent agenda, we've acknowledged it, and we say, this can continue on.
I would feel a lot better if the consent agenda was actually included in our packets, but we approve the consent agenda without actually knowing what's on it. I think it's just the emails that we've gotten so far. But if we're going to put other items, I would
Yeah, if
want it to
that's-
be annotated what those items are.
Yeah, if it's something that you want to do, we would have to put the policies in here.
Right.
Because they would need to be reviewed, they just don't need to be discussed.
Okay. All right. Oh, and I have one last thing. Originally, we had only discussed IJO. Hold on. We had only discussed KA at policy, and we had IJO. No, we had only discussed, IJO at policy. But in our most recent policy meeting, we talked about KA being the same. And so now we've approved it. So we need to take KA off of the agenda for next week because we just approved the changes tonight.
All
Does that
right.
make sense? That's really for Ms. Kinsella as she's putting things together. I'll try and remember to send her an email. Okay.
Okay. All right. We had our great curriculum evaluation presentation this evening, sorry. HR, we kind of did on our own.
No.
Well, no, like we're not doing it. There's not a committee in right now. So this brings us up to new business. So I will
I'm sorry, we still have to approve the personnel recommendations from the HR.
Yeah, that's
Oh, is under new business? Oh, I hate this change.
You'll get used to it. Just give it some time. Okay. Okay, new business. I'll hand the floor over to Dr. Andrade.
Yep, so first, I'm looking for a recommendation to approve the personnel recommendations dated April 13th, 2026, which are in your packet.
Second.
Well, I'll make the motion.
Oh, okay. I thought he
And then
made
you
the
want to
motion.
set, or do you want to?
You can make the motion.
I'll make the motion, and Ms. Gilio seconds it. If we have any comments or questions in regards to specific people, we would need to go into non-public. Ms. Lopez?
I don't have comments or questions on specific people. It's just sad to see.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. I feel like every month we have some shifts in staff.
I don't know, it feels unusual to me to see this number of resignations, and I said last meeting about retirements outside of the normal course of time for this. So I have I'm just noting it.
I think we have a good idea why.
Teaching's hard right now.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I'm looking forward to retirement myself.
All right, guys, seeing no other comments about personnel recommendations, all those in favor of accepting the personnel recommendations from April 13th, 2026, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
We wish them well.
Next, I'm looking for a recommendation to approve the MOU with the Title I teachers between the Nashua Teachers Union and the Board of Education.
Second.
First.
Making that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh. Ms. Raymond's going to have to figure out who won that.
Well, Miss Lewis has her light on.
And for me, it's hidden behind your Stanley mug. I love Stanley. It's The Office. It's not, I don't love her thermos. You have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just again, I want to give a lot of credit to Mr. Hoffman. He kind of summarized the work that Dr. Scott Patty, Mr. Hoffman, Miss Sherry Fulton, and myself been doing over the last couple months. Again, as Mr. Hoffman mentioned, we've had about 40 years of practice, but nothing actually memorialized in the contract. So this is actually a good step to memorialize what the Title I teacher's schedule is, and then incorporate it into the next contract.
Okay. Ms. Raymond?
Can I ask a question about one of the numbered items, or do we need to go into non-public since it hasn't technically been approved yet?
We probably need to go into non-public.
Is it a general question?
I think my question is, hold on, I'm thinking about how I can rephrase it in a way that is not necessary to be in non-public. So my question is about the general responsibilities of Title I teachers as opposed to other teachers. Are they typically responsible for an entire classroom without any other teachers in the room, such that if they worked a different schedule than the other classroom teachers, we'd have kids with no teacher for days that they wouldn't be scheduled for?
Title I teachers are funded through the Title I grant.
Right.
And so they're typically a reading specialist, a math interventionist, they're all certified teachers.
Gotcha, but they're not, so if their schedule were to be different than the 180-day schedule of every other teacher who's not a Title I teacher, we wouldn't end up with a classroom that didn't have a teacher, right? For example, a few days at the end of the school year.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other?
That was it. I just was like, this seems weird. I should ask.
Okay, any other
A
comments or
question.
questions?
I just, for my understanding, what is this 0.6 FTE, means 60% of the 8 hours, or?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Right?
It's usually a full-time equivalent is a 1.0, which is a traditional working week. And so a 0.8 is 80% of that working week, or 0.6 is 60% of that working week, and then really clarifying how many meetings they have to go to before and after school and the professional development days.
Okay, thank you.
All right, seeing no other comments or questions, all those in favor of approving the, sorry, I lost my spot, approving the MOU, Title I teachers, the memorandum of understanding between Title I teachers and the National Teachers Union. All those in favor of approving the MOU, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I have one more question I should have asked 1 minute ago, but it won't change my vote.
I'll allow it.
How many Title I teachers do we have this year, and how many are proposed for next year? Or do we have to wait till we know what we're getting in title grants?
Yeah, we don't, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we won't know the exact number until we're going through the needs assessment right now. So really looking at what those buildings need, which will be part of the driver, and then what that allocation comes in will be the other part of that equation. And then we'll be figuring that out over the summer. I want to say there's about 40 Title I employees, but that might be a little bit high. Mr. Hoffman might know the exact answer.
Well, it's a different group, though. That's one. I can answer all your questions, by the way, now that you've approved it.
Oh, great.
Do you
So-
mind joining us?
You-
I mean, you're already
can
there,
just
but I
join
thought I'd
you-
just
I can just
form a-
join you here.
Yeah, whatever.
Great question, Heather. Why do the part-time Title I teachers get out 4 days early? Well, goes back to the early 1980s. That
Back in
this
the day.
group does not get any health care benefits.
Oh.
This group is also not in the New Hampshire retirement system. They don't receive a pension. And so the trade was 4 days, no health insurance, no pension. Now, I don't know if that's a fair trade, but it's something. And that is where it came from, so I hope the board understands that piece. That's a pretty big concession.
Again, I think my concern was I was envisioning classrooms of second graders with
Yeah.
nobody for 4 days.
Yeah, that's
Right, and
typically
where do they
not their
go?
role. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the other thing that I just want to point out about these Title I teachers, because the federal funding, you never really know when it's going to be approved. They typically get sort of like a layoff notice every year. And it sort of says, well, the Title I funding is going to be coming, but in some years it's later than others. And, we spoke with Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander Monday about this, and we asked her, I said, if there's any way, if you could just get this money guaranteed a little earlier, all the school districts will be happier. We won't have to do this because they always end up approving it. But it's really tough where all the other teachers, they have to know that they're coming back by the first Friday after the second Tuesday in May by statute. That's not the case with this group of people. And so I'm hoping that changes someday. I know that Crystal LeGray would probably appreciate knowing she has that money earlier in the amount as well as my employees. So, so thank you.
Yeah, understandable. All right, Dr. Andre?
Yep. So I'm going to make this motion, but I really want to give credit to Dr. Scott Patty and Sherry Fulton for this next piece of exciting news. So I want to make a recommendation to approve the reinstatement of the Title I pre-K program for the 26-27 school year.
So
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Didn't get anything in there that time, but I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Well, it's very important.
I have questions.
I think I know what you're going to say.
So I have
ahead.
questions. I think that pre-K is critically important. I also think that other programming is critically important. And so I'm wondering, how much is this going to cost us? Is it coming out of Title I grants, or is it coming out of operating budget? Can you talk a little bit more about if there are options for this money, or if it is, it can only be spent on this one thing?
So this is our recommendation, and it would be funded through the Title I grant. So when we think about Title I money, its purpose is really to help to close gaps caused by poverty, right? That's where the fundamental piece of where Title I comes from, so that all students can achieve at high levels. Looking at that, we've used a variety of approaches over the years with regard to that aim. It's been a lot of reading and math interventionists. At first, it was only reading interventionists. We've seen more math over the past few years. Post-pandemic, it was a heavy shift towards added social workers, SEL teachers, people like that. One of the, it might be the most research-proven intervention for boosting achievement is preschool. We had that as part of the grant. We lost that a few years ago. I do think it's a fundamental gap in our approach to equitable outcomes for our neediest learners. And it would be looking at it as part of the whole of the Title I grant. I believe our proposal would be that it would come off the top of the Title I grant before we look at the distribution to each school. There's a whole formula for that Ms. Fulton knows better than I do. But I do think it's critical, and I do think we'll still be able to meet the needs assessments that individual schools are creating at this time as well.
And just another point of clarification. So the pre-K, unlike the previous model, the pre-K classrooms will be at each elementary school. So there won't be one Title I pre-K. There'll be one classroom at Amherst Street, one classroom at Dr. Chris, one classroom at Fairgrounds, one classroom at Lead Street, and one class at Mount Pleasant. So then they'll be part of the school community for 6 years.
Good. Okay. Ms. Lampier, Ms. Lopez.
I was just wondering, I'm really happy that this is coming back. I heard from some people in the community who are really kind of distraught about the program being ended. And I like the idea of having it in the classroom, in the schools where the kids will be going. I'm not sure how many children were in the previous preschool program. It's going to be 15 students per school. How are we going to decide which 15 kids are able to come?
That is a good question. I'm interested to see in year one what the demand is. It is a different model than what was being run before, so I'm not sure if we'll immediately fill all of those, or if it will be, if we'll go into next year with openings remaining. That's a piece I would need to consult with Ms. Fulton on how that's going to work. If it's going to be, I imagine it would be a lottery system, would be my first thought on that, but we haven't kind of gotten to that level of logistics yet. We're actually meeting tomorrow to kind of nail down some next steps.
So it is a possibility it might still be first come, first serve? No. Or will it just be based entirely on need? Or lottery, or, I mean,
So by need, so you would have to be in the catchment area for that school. So you'd have to be zoned to Dr. Crisp to be eligible for a slot at Dr. Crisp, for example. And then, like I said, my thought would be that we would do a lottery-based system, which is the fairest option. Yeah. But like I said, we're kind of looking to get input from the board tonight, and then we have a follow-up meeting scheduled tomorrow based on that to kind of get into the weeds a little bit more on the logistics.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just if I may, just to follow up. Last year that we ran the Title I program at Broad Street, we had about 45 students in the program. And so in this model there's 75 seats available. So in the past, we did it as a first come, first serve. So I think we'll kind of go through the same procedures again, but going into next year, we actually have more available seats than we did in the past. And then we also have the Franklin Street program that also takes peers in as well. And then we have a reduction in the tuition there as well. So we'll have more available seats across the district between Franklin Street and the Title I program.
That's really great news. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Lopez and Ms. Raymond.
I just wanted to say, I'm very proud that we're bringing this back. Thank you so much. I know that we sat up here last year in the horseshoe and it wasn't an option. So I'm really glad that you guys thought about this and that you're bringing it back. I really do think that it's very important because the younger the learner, the better. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Andre, for pointing out the fact that this program is doubled from what we used to have. So that's even better. Thank you. I'm very proud.
Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. So I have a couple questions about the makeup of the program based on the memo. So the curriculum is going to mirror the kindergarten, but is it still play-based?
Yes, it would still be play-based. However, in terms of curriculum, all of the programs that we use K to 5 have a pre-K component.
Okay.
So we are looking to purchase the pre-K component so that what we don't want is, for example, students starting to learn, this is a really concrete example. When you learn letters, you learn a keyword that goes with that letter, right? And different programs have different keywords to match the letter, right? So we don't want in pre-K, they're getting this symbol and then they go to kindergarten and we're changing it, right? So we really want to look at that alignment vertically from pre-K on. But yes, there would be ample play opportunities as well, and that would be integrated in the approach.
Okay, and then on the thing, it says lunch will be served in the classrooms. Is lunch part of the program, or is that something that parents will have to supply?
Yep, they would be eligible for lunch like any other student in the school. We have spoken with Mary Benoit from Food Services, and she did confirm that that is an option. So if a student qualifies for free lunch, they would receive free lunch. Same with reduced. If they prefer to bring a lunch from home, that's an option as well, or they could purchase school lunch. We would just logistically serve it in the classroom as opposed to them going through the cafeteria for a variety of reasons.
Thank you.
Ms. Lewis?
Thank you. For this program, is it like a half-day schedule? Is it all day?
It would be essentially full day with the exception that we would do a staggered arrival and dismissal for two reasons. One, it avoids the congestion, adding to the congestion of arrival and dismissal. And the other piece, those times would make up the teacher's planning time, since that's a little bit harder to get within the preschool day. So it would accommodate both their contractual planning time as well as easing the arrival and dismissal demands.
Okay.
That would be our recommendation.
Thank you. That makes sense with the 25 minutes. Thank you.
I have just one follow-up question. I'm gonna do glass half full and think that we're gonna be busting at the seams. Because I'm assuming the preschoolers are not going on the school buses, their parents are driving them in and out. If one school becomes full, would that student have the option of going to another one that may have space?
I don't see why not. I can certainly bring that to the planning committee as we talk about those follow-up logistics, but we want those slots to be used and we want them to be used by students in the zones of those buildings, right? So ideally they're at their home school, but just like we can do overflow for kindergarten when that situation arises, I don't see why we couldn't do the same thing for pre-K.
Perfect. And I would put money on when those kids are doing their first SAS testing, we're gonna see scores go. We're gonna see a huge difference. I'm a betting person on this one. Okay, so on that motion, any other comments or questions?
I just have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Salvi.
Thank you. Because this seems to be a very good program, certainly at the right age, if there is a more demand, like more than 75 students, are we going to allow any more students to get in or no?
So we would do a wait list, and then if a student moves or drops out, they would certainly be able to move into one of those slots. I don't believe we would be able to go above 75 for next year. We'd have to, plan the budget around how many teachers and paraprofessionals we would need to accomplish that. Class size for pre-K is capped at 15. So we would not be able to add additional students to those classes beyond the 15. If we were seeing a really high demand or really high demand in certain schools, that's certainly a piece that we could then plan for the following year if we were looking to add additional classrooms in the future.
Just a follow-up, so they can move if Amherst is full and suppose Dr. Crisp is not full. So anybody can go to any school or?
So the preference would be that you would go to your neighborhood school. That being said, if your neighborhood school program was full, but one of the other schools had openings, we could do what we would call an overflow situation where they could be assigned to one of the other schools. But it would your home school would have to be one of the 5 Title I schools that are designated as part of this.
Thank you.
Ms. Prin, then Ms. Lewis.
This is hopefully a really easy to answer question. Are they 4-year-olds kids that'll be going?
Yeah, it would be the same admission criteria as for kindergarten, but a year earlier. So by September, September 30th. Yes, thank you. I always have to think through how I say that. Yes, 4 by September 30th of that year.
Okay, Ms. Lewis?
Thank you. Dr. Andre, did you mention that it was 45 students that attended this school or that were enrolled in that program before?
Approximately, yes.
Okay, so we were, I guess, estimating that we probably wouldn't maybe receive more than 45? Is that what we were, I don't know, just looking at for numbers?
Well, I think by putting all the one classroom in each school, we actually can allot for more students. So 15 times 5 gives us a higher enrollment than if they were all together.
Okay.
I also think it might be more desirable being in their home school, so we might get more interest just from that as opposed to having to travel elsewhere. Yeah.
No, just year over year, our enrollment at the Title I school was anywhere between 40 and 50 students. It was never as high as 75.
Great. Thank you.
And that was just at the one Broad Street
That was at
school.
Broad Street
That was the
or-
one, and it was a school-wide program.
Yeah, or when it was at the church for a number of years too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Anyone else? Okay. Oh, Ms. Prin's going to miss the vote. She's going to be bummed. All right, so all those in favor of approving the reinstatement of the Title I Pre-K program for the 26-27 school year, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
And lastly, a recommendation to approve the signing of the 2026-27 general assurances. And I can speak to that after.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
So this is the general assurances for new board members is a document that we sign every year.
We pinky promise we're following the law.
Around when we receive federal funds. Last year, there was a little controversy on new language. So we had our attorneys were involved. There was a lot of controversy in Concord on the exact language. Lawyers reviewed it a year ago to take out any language that was referring to that we couldn't have DEI programs or any programs like that. So this language that's in the package tonight reflects what we voted on last year. So there's no new changes other than really cleaning up the document, and it's verbatim from last year.
Ms. Raymond?
Yeah, I led the charge last year to object to the unconstitutional language that was put in there by our state legislature. So I'm very excited. I went over this one with a fine-tooth comb. I pulled up the one from several years ago before all of this nonsense. And so I am comfortable with everything that's in there. So I'm happy for you to sign it.
Okay.
So that we can get our funding.
Yes. Any other comments or questions about the general assurances? So we're waiting for your presentation on the general assurances, Ms. Prin. All right. I made the motion, Ms. Raymond seconded, just filling you in, Ms. Prin. Do you have any comments or questions? Okay. Well, seeing no other comments or questions, all those in favor of approving me signing the 26-27 general assurances, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Wrapping up this meeting, guys. I don't think we have any liaison reports, right? Nope. So this brings us up to our second public comment. Sorry, Ms. Prin. Should have had you get it when you were coming in. Thank you. Who's this? Alex Homola? Who's that? She never speaks. Must be something new.
Hi, Alex Samola, 6 Ayer Street. I am just here with a warm fuzzy tonight. I guess very excited about this pre-K. I may have heard about it a little earlier because I meet with the amazing Miss Sherry Fulton as part of a grant that we have at Mount Pleasant. And I know that our families are going to be really excited for this. I'm bummed I miss out. But I know, like, I can think of a family that specifically, like, their little kid, you know, and they have a kindergartner now and they have a pre-K age student that's gonna fit right in. It's gonna be great to incorporate all of our families right on through. So thank you for working on approving that and getting that done.
Thank you.
That was all.
All right, this brings us up to our board member comments. I will start over here with Ms. Gilio again.
I will pass now at this point.
Okay.
But I'm happy that we approved what we approved tonight. I think those are great steps going forward.
Yes.
For our kids. So other than that, I will pass.
Okay. Ms. Prin?
I just have to say again, I'm really excited that the preschool programs are back. It's just such a benefit for young children. That makes me very excited.
Yep. Mr. Johnson?
Nope, nothing for tonight.
Ms. Lewis?
No comment.
Mr. Salvi?
No comments.
Ms. Lampier?
It was a great meeting. I just wanted to say thank you again to the, for the great presentation on the writing thing. It's so cool that we're going to be doing that in our schools. And I appreciate all the hard work. And thanks to both the Title I and welcome to our school district. And yeah, I'm glad there was no financial talk. I like it when that happens.
You're off the hook tonight, Ms. Lampier. Ms. Lopez?
I'm very thankful, and I'll leave my comments at that. Thank you.
Ms. Raymond?
Right, thanks. I just have two things. One, I think we need a refresher on board member comments versus response to the superintendent comments, because the superintendent response is supposed to be directly related to what Dr. Andrade said, and I do it myself, and I realized it tonight. And then this period of time is when we can say whatever we want about any topic. And so on that, I am particularly dismayed to hear that we are eliminating languages at the middle schools and laying off French teachers and Latin teachers, because I specifically ask every year during budget that if cuts that we're being asked to approve are going to eliminate an entire department. And I always give the example of French because my husband speaks French and I think it's funny to use that as an example. But every year I ask, are we going to lose an entire department as a result of this budget? And I would not vote for a budget if someone said to me, as a result of your vote, you're going to lose French at the middle school or you're going to lose Spanish or whatever. So if that's the case, I really would like transparency in advance so that we know what we're doing. That's my public comment. That's my board member comment for this evening. And so I hope that it turns out that we don't end up having to do that. But I just think it's unfair to us and unfair to the community to find out after the fact.
I have no comment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We are out of our board meeting at 8:30.